welcome to another edition of Target Score Winnipeg. I am not Joey Slattery, unfortunately. You guys are stuck with me as the main host this week, Taylor Allen. But luckily, we have someone stepping in this week who actually does know a thing or two about basketball and is actually paid to sit courtside at Winnipeg Sea Bears home games. We have the lead videographer for the Winnipeg Sea Bears, also the digital production coordinator for Manitoba Bison Sports, Neil Noonan. How's it going, man?
Hey, long time coming, if I don't want to say myself, but happy to be on the podcast. Long time listener, long time friends, both you and Joey. And yeah, I'm excited to hear a lot of what you have to say because Joey tends to take up the airwaves a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you. I've been waiting for someone to say that. But man, I mean, more importantly, though, Neil, this is a Making Plays reunion. I mean, for the four people that listen to our podcast back in our college days at Red River College, you know, where you and I would sit in the studio talking sports for probably 90 minutes, way too long, but hey, you know, whatever. And again, I think our moms and maybe one or two of our classmates listened, and yeah, we did it for 2 years, I think, in college. So here we go, man. 5 years later, or whatever it is, the Making Plays boys are back for the reunion that no one has ever requested.
Look at us now, man. Look at us now. I think without a doubt, people will recognize the chemistry immediately. So let's get going.
Yeah, there we go. Quick sidebar to that. I mean, Neil and I, we graduated Crecom together a couple years ago. And actually, I remember, I think it was like our first advertising class. Kenton Larson, our advertising teacher, he went around the room and asked everyone to name 3 brands that kind of like represented themselves or whatever. And it was your turn. And one of the brands you named was NBA. And I was like, and this was like our first or second day of school. I was like, oh man, thank God there's another basketball guy in the room. So I remember like class ended, like go up to you. I'm like, hey man, I like basketball too. And then there you go. That was the start of a beautiful friendship. So there you go. It's only fitting now that here we are still involved in basketball, talking hoops. And yeah, thanks to Ken Larson, obviously.
No doubt. It turns out there's a lot of basketball fans in Winnipeg, as we've seen the past 3 years. We didn't know it back in 16 when we started college, but these past few years with the Sea Bears coming to town has really kind of shown what Winnipeg's all about and with their basketball fandom, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. But man, like where to even start? I mean, it's been a crazy 2 weeks of Sea Bears basketball and off the court stuff. I mean, we'll quickly recap, I guess. But again, like there's like probably 10 different ways we could start this thing off today. But I mean, Tevian Jones, you know, starts the season as the main guy for the Sea Bears. Then they bring in Jalen Harris and whatnot. His role changes a little bit, and he goes up to Mike Taylor and says, yeah, this ain't for me. I want a different role. I'm out. Signs with the Saskatchewan Rattlers. Plays his first game with them, I believe, last night. Scores 31 points, 2 assists, in a 22-point loss to the Calgary Surge. So, Neil, maybe we'll start there. There's so much other stuff to get to, but maybe we'll start with, you know, your thoughts on the Tevian Jones era in Winnipeg, how it went, how it ended, and your thoughts on him now playing in Saskatchewan.
Little deja vu having the main guy come in for a few games, play well, things change, and then go to Saskatchewan and drop 30 in their first game, eh?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think the main guy thing is kind of what this is all about, right? I think my favorite part of this Sea Bears experience is kind of realizing and recognizing the players that actually make their way to Canada in the summer to play in the CBL and what their goals are, what their aspirations are past the CBL, because no one just wants to play 4 months in Canada. People are trying to lock down those contracts in Greece or Europe, whatever. Like, and we're going to talk about the guys that went down to the summer league, right? The same thing. Like these guys are not coming up to the CBL to be like, I'm going to be a Sea Bear for life. No, like their whole thing is that this is a stepping stone to show what they can do, get tape, put mixes on YouTube or Instagram, get that next contract, right? Because I mean, you've interviewed a lot of these guys. They all say they want to get in the NBA still. The dream is not dead, right? And they're in their young 20s, a lot of these guys. And when a guy like Tevian Jones, I'm not going to put words in Coach Taylor's mouth, but I imagine the conversation was pretty much like, you're going to be the guy. Like, you're going to probably lead this team with the initial roster in shot attempts. And when you bring in a guy like Jalen Harris, and you got a scoring guard, as much as I love that when he is a facilitating like Terry Roberts, right? There's only so much shots to go around. And when you look at that game log, when Jalen Harris got here, those points for Tevian Jones, even the shot attempts, just went way down, right? Like, you don't see a guy like that scoring 2 points a game and playing 20 plus minutes, right? So I really liked getting to know Tevian a little bit in my role. Always seemed like a really good guy, good head on his shoulders. But I'm not surprised, thinking about what Coach Taylor may have told him at the beginning of the season and the way that it's went, especially with the Harris acquisition. And maybe he had a conversation with his agent and be like, "Hey, like, I need to get some shots up. I got to show people what I can do." And team as low as Saskatchewan is in the standings might be the right spot for him. And that first game back with the 30 points, he looked good. He looked like that Tevian Jones we saw those first few games in Winnipeg. And we're like, okay, look at this long athletic wing. He can shoot. He can get to the rack. He can get out on the fast break. He's a really good basketball player. And I think with this roster currently with Winnipeg, he just wasn't able to show that. So not really surprised. I hope he succeeds in what he's trying to do, kind of thing. But if anything, putting my Sea Bears hat on, I think it just opens up a little bit more roles for everybody else, and especially these new guys too, right? So, end of the Tevian Jones, the really short era in Winnipeg, but I think he's doing what's best for him. And I mean, Winnipeg owes him nothing. He owes nothing to Winnipeg. It is what it is. This is the CBL. Like, I think, I don't want to talk for 40 minutes straight on this podcast, but a lot of the conversations I've had this year with friends of mine and different Sea Bears fans is like, wow, is this like turnover normal? Like, because we were so lucky in that first year where zero roster changes at all. Insane.
Yep.
Last year, obviously, they dropped the MVP and they picked up another one, right? That's a huge thing too. So that was the first big shock to the Sea Bears nation. This year, this team, this roster fluidity is very similar to a lot of other teams in the league, right? So we're just kind of getting a good dose of what the CBL is all about. And Tevian Jones is just kind of one of the perfect examples, or the most recent example.
Yeah, no, that's an underrated point. I mean, Winnipeggers are still learning about what the CEBL is, right? Like, yes, this is normal. I mean, maybe not to quite this extent, excuse me, but yeah, like, this is a league where guys are moving around. Oh, the summer league's calling. Okay, I'm going to take up that deal. And I have a team in Europe that's I'm signing a contract with. Okay, well, sorry, but I got to miss the playoffs and I got to go overseas to Europe. So it's a frustrating league if you're a GM or coach, obviously, because like, every week basically your roster can change. It's like an AHL hockey team. It's like, the gold eyes in baseball as well, same thing. Like, guys, your star player could get picked up by a big league team, midway through the season. Then you're kind of left scrambling. But I mean, with Tevian though, I mean, start of the year he was basically asked to be the guy for this team, and he had some flashes, right? But at the end of the day, like, this team was not good, the first couple weeks of the year. Like, they needed to bring in some help. So I understand that, bringing in Jalen Harris changed Tevian's role quite a bit. But like, if you're Tevian, it's like, how can you argue against that? Like, you guys weren't winning games with you as the guy. Like, you needed some help, whether you think you did or didn't. Like, you did, man. So yeah, I don't know. Like, if he doesn't want to be here, then by all means, like, yeah, see you later. And you're right. This is a league that's for guys who are trying to move on to bigger and better things. And as they should, right? That should be their goal. But I mean, at the same time, you want guys that do care about winning, right? And do actually care about playing team basketball. And, they're okay with being the second or third option if that means, it's going to benefit the whole team. And, with Tevian, not to make assumptions, but it sounds like that's not the case with him. And I even asked Mike Taylor, like, why did he ask for his release? And he was open. He's like, yeah, when we brought in Jalen Harris, Tevian wasn't happy with his role, so he has to be released. And then, okay, so if you want to go to Saskatchewan, play on, arguably the worst team or second worst team in the league and jack up 20 shots a game, knock yourself out, man. So a loss for the Sea Bears for sure, but I mean, and we'll get to in a second here. I mean, they brought in some other guys, so they were able to fill his spot pretty quickly. But yeah, just a kind of a weird situation all the way around. And yeah, like you said, kind of similar with Teddy Allen last year. They cut Teddy, he goes to Sask, and he kind of gets the the role again of jacking up a bunch of shots and whatever on a losing team. And yeah, but it's funny though. I was talking to my sports editor at the Free Press the other day, and she's like, we got to send a photographer out to Thursday's game because basically all of our pictures from this season are of Tevian Jones because he was just like such an athletic guy, right? Like all these like big dunks, like exciting plays around the rim and stuff like that. So like our photographers just like loved shooting Tevian Jones. So now with no Tevian, it's like, oh shoot, like okay, we need to send someone out Thursday, get some shots of some other guys because yeah, we got like no art of the Sea Bears right now. And I'm sure you had a lot of fun shooting Tevian as well.
Oh, any kind of athlete like that can get up and be as acrobatic as he can be, is an absolute thrill. I don't think we got the dunk captured that we would have loved to, that we know he's capable of. Like we've seen him in warm up and in practice. Duke can cock it back without a doubt.
Yeah.
I don't think we got to see that at home at all this year, unfortunately. Not saying he didn't have dunks, but like the dunk we all know he's capable of, right? But of course, and I feel I can empathize with your photographer because we're constantly thinking about updating the intro video that plays before games. And I like Mason Borsier left. He was a huge part of last year's team and an emotional part of last year's team. So a lot of our best clips are from our guy Mason, a hometown hero. Or sorry, it should say hometown hero. He's not from Winnipeg, but like a player that Winnipeg loved and loved to root for, right? The blue collar kind of player that Coach Taylor loves to talk about, right? So, yeah, a lot of turnover for sure, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this new team kind of responds and just the kind of, we can almost project fluidity to continue because of the G League or the Summer League guys. But at least the two guys that played in this most recent game, they looked pretty good. And they needed that win against Saskatchewan. They absolutely needed that win. I know, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, they went on that 4-game winning streak and then they just dumped 4 in a row after that, right? So, man, that the Saskatchewan game could not have come at a better time in the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird, I think, like a 5-day stretch. So Tevian asked for his release, and then just before that, Jalen Williams and Terry Roberts, they went down to Vegas to play Summer League. So Jalen Williams joining a Cooper Flag with the Dallas Mavericks Summer League team, pretty cool, and Terry Roberts going to the Brooklyn Nets Summer League team. And you know what? I was looking at their Summer League stats this year. I was just curious how those guys are doing. Terry Roberts, 0 games played. Jalen Williams, 18 minutes played in 1 game, 4 points, 5 rebounds. Like, I get it. You get a phone call from an NBA team, and I mean, it'd be hard not to say no, but it's like, at this point, it's hard not to say, like, what a colossal waste of time for those guys. You know what I mean? Like, if you stayed with Winnipeg, you at least you're putting out some tape, right? You're actually playing and whatever. But I mean, are you really gaining any momentum in your career going down to Vegas and playing 18 minutes or not playing at all? So I don't know, maybe that'll be a thing that CEBL guys consider moving forward. Like, it might not really be worth it. And now, you mentioned the new guys that the Sea Bears signed. Trey Scott, veteran forward who played actually with the Cleveland Cavaliers a few years ago, 2 games with the Cavs, I believe. And Will Richardson, point guard out of Oregon. He's played 2 years with the G League. These guys were brought in to, kind of fill Jalen and Terry's spots, at least while they were gone for these 2 weeks. And now Terry and Jalen, they're still expected to join the team, come back to Winnipeg next week. But now it's like they might lose their spots in Winnipeg because, again, like you said, Trey Scott and Will Richardson, they both look so good in that Saskatchewan game last Friday. So the Sea Bears, they won that one. What was it? 94-70, which is pretty crazy considering that they just brought in those 2 new guys earlier that week. They hit the road, and I know Sask is like one of the worst teams in the league, but still to come up with a 24-point win on the road with your team basically just meeting each other the day before, pretty impressive. I mean, Will Richardson, 18 points, plus 23 on the floor, and he was 4 from 5 from 3. And the Sea Bears have been a horrendous shooting team all year long. So to have now maybe a point guard who can, consistently knock down threes, it'd be hard to take a guy like him out of the lineup. And then you look at Trey Scott. He's a big dude, really athletic guy as well. 16 points, 7 for 10 from the field. He was plus 20. So those 2 guys were like 2 of their best players. So how do you, if those 2 guys have another great game Thursday night at home against Calgary, it's like, how do you just yank him out and throw Jalen and Terry back in there.
I think this is what makes the CBL so fascinating is situations like this, right? And oftentimes I try and think of their agents and thinking about what is the most beneficial thing for them. Because yeah, you're right. Terry has not seen the floor for the Brooklyn Nets in summer league at all. Like, and he's there. I saw him on the bench. I was watching the highlights, looking for him on the bench, not moving. Jalen Williams, happy to see him get in the game at least and do things. I do think he's one of those players that you can absolutely forget he's on the floor sometimes, which I think does not actually work super well in summer league or in the CBL, right? Where it's very like, it's conducive to people that are very aggressive, like Teddy Allen or like Justin Wright Foreman, right? It's people that are trying to like constantly be aggressive and put pressure on the basket and shoot those open shots as soon as you get them. I find the Jalen Williams experience for the Sea Bears this year is it's very hot and cold, right? Where he like sometimes he hits 4 baskets in a row and completely changes the game. And then there are other games where he plays like 11 minutes, especially with this new roster, and you forget that he's on the team sometimes, right? So I'm glad that he's getting minutes down there. Like you said, like are there benefits? I'm not sure. I'm hoping that the benefits can even just be being around coaches and being around guys and being around agents and being around just these teams that like if ultimately their goal is to be in the NBA or at least to be in the G League and give themselves a chance to get into the big leagues, I do think just being present in those gyms like down in Vegas are probably super important. But yeah, do they lose their jobs now coming back up
They might.
north?
They
They
might.
absolutely might because I think when Terry plays well for the Sea Bears play well. Like there's not a really big statistical backup for that, unfortunately. But when I'm sitting there courtside and I'm watching the Sea Bears play well, a lot of it comes down to Terry doing stuff. And it's like, and it's looking for open guys. It's a lot of simple basketball, swinging it from one side to the other, penetrating the paint when no one's doing that, right? Pushing the pace off a rebound, right? The CBL should be a fast league, right? There's no time to put in to implement big offenses and a bunch of different sets, right? They're here for what 24 games, Taylor? Like it's
Yeah.
nuts, right? They get here. We run the media days for the Sea Bears, right? They get off a plane, do all the media stuff, and then they're playing 5 days later. So shout out to Coach Mike for trying to do these sets and all that kind of stuff, right? All that to say, I think when Scary Terry plays well, the Sea Bears really play well. However, my goodness, Will Richardson looked awesome. He like from the get-go, I watched that first quarter live the other day, and he just talking about being aggressive. Like he took those open shots that were there. He was pushing the pace. His height is fantastic for a point guard, of course, right? Like just being able to make those passes over different people. I was super impressed. I also think his ability to run the point that way helped Jalen Harris play really well. Jalen Harris, his entire career in the CBL, he plays well when he has another lead guard beside him that can handle the ball for the most part, right? I'm pretty sure Cat Barber and him they won with the Scarborough Shooting Stars, right? A few years ago, right? Like it's it's pairing those kind of guys with Jalen Harris so that he can shoot and be confident and just letting the ball fly. So I both like Terry and Will Richardson in that role. And then Scott too, like he just a big body, right? Like you'll never hear a coach say we have too many 6'8" wings, right? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of just how basketball has developed, where if you can have 5, 6, 8 to 7 foot guys on the wing that could shoot, pass, and dribble, you're going to be a pretty good basketball team, right? So I think they're two welcomed additions for sure. I haven't really done the roster math as far as like national guys and all that kind of stuff to see like I think they even still have a roster spot
Yes.
open
Yes. I
right
have
now,
that right
right?
here. So actually,
Okay,
yeah.
go for it, Taylor. I'm actually really kind of curious where they're at with their roster.
Yeah. So assuming Jalen and Terry come back next week, which is again what Mike Taylor is believing is still going to happen, that'll give the Sea Bears 5 American players, 5 import players, and you're allowed to dress 4 on game days. So technically, right now, since those guys actually no, you're allowed to have 6 in total on your roster. So technically, they still could bring in an import player. But I was talking to Mike, and he said actually right now we're looking at bringing in another Canadian. We're not looking at bringing in another import because, I mean, we're going to have 5 guys. We like these 5 guys. So what's the point in bringing in a 6th guy and then having 2 of these guys sit out every game? Not really an ideal situation. So, I mean, I guess you could look at it as it's a good problem to have, that they'll probably have 5 solid American guys and they'll have a tough choice to make as to who's the odd man out. That's a glass half full approach, but I mean, yeah, like you just have to think though, like that could cause potentially some issues in the locker room and stuff. Like, here's these 2 guys who started the year with you. Terry, like you said, like I found he was really finding his game like the week or 2 before he left. So it's kind of like bad timing almost that they lost him. And yeah, but I mean, if Will Richardson and Trey Scott play Thursday night and then Sunday in Montreal the same way that they played last week in Saskatchewan, like I honestly don't know how you could take those guys off the court. So yeah, that's going to be a tough one for the Sea Bears to figure out. But again, I guess a good problem to have. But I mean, when those 2 guys first signed in Winnipeg, the Sea Bears were, potentially open to still signing another American guy. They were kind of thinking that they could use a 3-and-D wing type of guy. So just for the hell of it, Neil, I said to Mike Taylor, in that press conference that day, hey, you just mentioned that you could use a guy who can score and play defense, a solid wing. Teddy Allen's available. Is there any chance you would pick up the phone and give your old pal Teddy a call? And Neil, it was actually hilarious. His initial reaction to the question was, "Ha!" Like he let out a big laugh, and he was like, "Honestly, I didn't even think of that." And which I don't know if that's true or not, but it was a bit of a long quote. Basically, he said, "I think everything is open at this point. We won't take anything off the table." Now, Joey followed up with him about that yesterday and asked him about it, and he kind of backtracked a little bit. So I don't think the Teddy Allen era is going to come back to Winnipeg anytime soon. But it was kind of fun to ask him about it. A lot of people online were kind of talking about it and whatnot. It's interesting seeing how many fans were like, "Yes, we would love to have Teddy back," and now they're saying, "Nope, we don't want that guy back." And even Teddy's agent commented on our Target Score Winnipeg post, saying, "Here, got it right here. What'd she say?" Oh, there it is. Teddy is the people's player. Sometimes you don't need to correct the narrative. Time will. Ooh, I like that. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, Neil. I mean, unless Jalen Harris leaves or gets hurt or something, I think that's the only way you'd even be tempted to make that phone call right now. Because like we said, I mean, they got a log jam of Americans coming down the pipe here. But Neil, if you're Mike Taylor, would you ever consider making that call to Teddy Allen?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that sums it up. Perfect.
But I do commend you and Joey for asking the question, because that's what good people in the media do, is ask the question that the people want. I think what's really, really tough is that the departure of Teddy Allen in Winnipeg was so... It's one of those things where it's like it wasn't a basketball decision, right? It's about upholding the values of the organization, right? And his behavior just not abiding by those things, right? And I think bringing him back completely demolishes the message that the organization sent, right? Regardless if he can put the ball in the hole, right? Like, what are we doing here, right? Are we just... is the only thing that matters is a CBL championship, or do you want to have a super successful organization that people can trust and will uphold the values of the community, right? And I do think it's really hard for the listeners to this podcast and the people that are paying money to go see the Sea Bears and know what it feels like to watch a Teddy Allen 40-point game in the Canada Life Center. An absolutely euphoric basketball experience in Winnipeg, right? We've all seen it. It was truly like a special time in Winnipeg. But the comeback just can't happen because of how the separation happened, if that makes sense, right? And I also think too, I've been thinking about this a lot too. You can tell that I'm really interested in the roster construction of the CBL, because I do think it's one of the most fascinating parts about it. But that first year, Teddy Allen was kind of like the vet on the team, a 24, 25-year-old vet. But there was a lot of young guys on the team, right? We think about guys like like Jelani, right? Young guy from Britain. Now he's having like a great career over there, but young. Simon Hildebrand, local kid here from Winnipeg. I think he was like 18 when he put a Sea Bears jersey on, right? So he had a young team that he was able to lead in his way, and I think that led to success. I think the difference between the first year's roster and the second year's roster is we brought in, I shouldn't say we, I'm not part of the organization, but the Sea Bears brought in a lot more veteran guys, ex-NBA player Byron Mullins, who happened to be 33 at the point, right? And a bunch of other guys that Darius Days, right? That weren't exactly going to just let Teddy be Teddy all the time, right? Because again, like we're talking about with a guy like Tevian Jones, like all these guys are here for a different reason. Darius Days went immediately down to the summer league as soon as he could, right?
Simi, thank you so much for joining us here today on the Target
I
Score
do
Winnipeg
think,
podcast.
regardless if Teddy Buckets can put the ball in the hole better than I've ever seen anyone in the CBL, I just don't think Winnipeg could do it. So that was why I answered so quickly. It just can't be that way, right? And can you imagine him on this team right now? Like him and Justin Wright Foreman didn't even click very well, but like Jalen Harris and Terry Roberts, like these are a lot of guys that need the ball in their hand, right? And then we haven't even mentioned Simi, who I think is by far the Sea Bears' best player, right? He
Absolutely.
needs the ball all the time, and he should get the ball all the time. He's a walking 25 and 12. So yeah, I like Teddy Allen, the guy. I hope the best for him. I just can't see him coming back to Winnipeg. Not with this roster, not with this current like organizational structure. I can't see it ever happening.
Well said. I mean, and you mentioned Simon Hildebrand and you mentioned Jelani Watson-Gale. Now, a big reason why that team the first season really overachieved was because of those two guys. Like Jelani Watson-Gale was, the best sixth man in the league. Simon Hildebrand was the best U Sports player in the league, and both these guys coming off the bench, obviously. So, whenever a starter needed to take a breather, like the Sea Bears were still in pretty good shape. Well, Neil, this year, hasn't quite been that way. The bench, oh man, are they struggling. So they just signed Maurice Kalou, veteran Canadian player, 6'10", big, from Windsor, Ontario. He's played in the league before. He's had a lot of injury issues, but the last time he was actually healthy in the CBL, played some minutes, was last year at the beginning of the year with Saskatchewan, where he averaged 14 points, 6 rebounds per game in 10 games. So solid numbers. That's a guy who, he even had to work out with the 76ers after that year. He's played in Mexico. He's played in Lebanon. He's played in Taiwan. This guy's bounced around. So he's a veteran guy. And, it's an easy transition for him to come to Sea Bears because he's basically played with almost half the team already at some point in his career. He's played with Emmanuel Acott in AAU. He played with Will Richardson at the prestigious Oak Hill Academy in high school. I played with Simi Chateau and Trey Scott with the Calgary Surge 2 years ago. Jalen Harris, he played with him with the Windy City Bulls and Saskatchewan last year as well. And then he played with Cody John with Saskatchewan last year as well. So this is a guy that the players were pretty pumped to bring in. He'll be a nice piece on this bench because Neil, oh my goodness, this bench has been horrendous. I mean, they smoked Saskatchewan the other night, but I think they only had 5 points from their bench, the Sea Bears. 5 points, and they all came from the good old veteran Alex Campbell, who unfortunately still has not found his shooting stroke. He was 1 for 6 for 3 in the game. So
the one buzzer beater he did, right?
Yeah, and still just struggling to knock it down, which the Sea Bears could really use for him right now. So I went back and looked like just how bad the bench has been. And, the game before that, when they lost to Niagara, 93-82, their bench was outscored 33-14. The game before that, when they lost 104-80 to Ottawa, their bench was outscored 26-11. The game before that, when they were where they lost 103-93 to Scarborough, their bench was outscored 21-12. The game before that, they were outscored. They lost 98-85 to Edmonton. The bench was outscored 21-5. The game before that, they actually won. They won 92-85 over Vancouver, but their bench was outscored 11-8. And then the game before that, when they finally won one, they beat, that's the end of their winning streak. Or towards the end of their winning streak, I should say. They beat Saskatchewan 91-84, and their bench actually outscored the Rattlers 15-10. So in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-6 games, their bench has been severely outscored. And if I spent more time going back to the beginning of the season, it would be a similar story. Now, Neil, I just threw a 10 billion numbers at you, but to quickly summarize, the Sea Bears' bench has been brutal. Your thoughts?
Let me throw some numbers right back at you, because it's
Oh,
not just
love
the
it.
bench. Lowest points in the league, lowest field goal percentage in the league, lowest 3-point percentage in the league, lowest assist in the league, lowest efficiency in the league. That's their entire team. So I love my guy Kyler Filowich and Alex Campbell and all those guys, right? But it's really not just the bench. I think the offense has been bad, right? And we feel it at home games, right? Where it's like, I think it was it Scarborough was the last home game, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm
ugly game.
Super ugly. I think a lot of us got back in the media room that day and felt like that was like the worst Sea Bears home game that we've experienced. Just, I think they went on a 25-point run with turnovers and dunks and threes and stuff like that. And I do think watching Will Richardson the past night got me so excited about, like, oh my gosh, there's somebody here that can just move the ball from side to side, can attack the paint, shoot those open threes. I'm not going to say that I have the recipe for success. I don't. And I can guarantee you, my Coach Taylor is a super smart basketball mind, and he knows the buttons that he's trying to press. It doesn't mean that it's working, obviously, right? But I'm going to give the bench a little bit of a break, just looking at the entire team as a whole. There is no Jelani Watson-Gale on this team. There just isn't, right? Having a guy like Simon Hildebrand, who's just this Canadian sharpshooter that can guard 4s and 5s, not on the team this year, right? So I do think what's really interesting with this, like, with having Kalu come back, I love that you recognize all the players that he's played with. That's what makes me think he's going to have this roster spot. Thank goodness he's Canadian. But is Jalen Williams ever going to play with Kalu on this team? You know, if you look at Jalen Williams' last, I don't know, like 5-6 games when Tevian Jones was here and when Jalen Harris was here and all that kind of stuff, like his minutes have just been in flux, right? He'll play 10 minutes one game, 25 the next, whatever it means.
Yeah, but I think he's the odd man out.
I think so too, right? So does he even come back to Canada, right? Like if I'm him and I'm his agent and I'm looking like, okay, we have what, a dozen more games, even the opportunity to showcase yourself at CBL Championship, is it really worth it? Or should you just try and stick around those gyms in the US and get a training camp invite somewhere, right? Like, who knows? But so let's say Jalen Williams is the odd man out for the sake of this discussion. Terry Roberts is back. We got Scott in, we got Richardson. Who is that starting 5 now, right? I think Simeon, Jalen Harris are kind of locked at that. You can say 1, 2, or like the 5, right? You need the Canadians in there, so thank goodness for Simi.
E-Man.
I think E-Man, right? So E-Man, if he was American, I don't think he'd be playing as much as he is, right? But like he's one of the greatest Winnipeg basketball players that has come out of the city in a long time, and we're all rooting for him, right? Speaking of guys that just his shot just has not fallen this year, he's a much better shooter than what he actually has shown this year, unfortunately. And then who else is in that starting role, right? Is it Will Richardson? Is it Terry? To me, they can't play together, right?
Yeah.
So immediately one of them comes to the bench. I love the idea of either of them coming off the bench and kind of sparking that, right? And then who do you got on the wings? You got E-Man, right? Maybe it's Kalu. I think I'm forgetting someone. Tevian Jones is gone now too. So I'm really trying to think about that roster construction and how it's going to go forward. But maybe
Trey
that does
Scott,
help the bench, dude. Yeah, 100%, right? So maybe that does really bolster the bench, is having this kind of roster problem and being able to sell it to these guys to be like, hey, like, good teams are only going to play 7 or 8 guys anyways, right? I think it was a Pat Riley quote or something where it's like you play 8, trust 7 when it comes to the playoffs, right? Like, I think that's so true, especially in a FIBA game where it's 40 minutes. Like, these guys, like, Tevian Jones played 40 minutes for Saskatchewan the other night, right? These guys can do that.
You don't need to be 12 deep. But you do need, your 6th, 7th best player to actually contribute something. And the Sea Bears have not gone that. And you're right. It's been, pretty much some bad basketball all the way around. But I mean, just the fact that, like, night after night after night, like, your bench is getting outscored by at least 10 points. It's like, you're asking a lot out of your starters to, like, kind of make up for that difference. So, but you know what? Actually, that reminds me, when when I was kind of asking Mike about it the other day, he was saying that he's really excited about the potential of having Will Richardson and Terry Roberts, like having two like really talented American point guards. Like that's, something the Seabears have never had. So, I think that answers that Terry, he's not going to be the odd man out, or probably not Will either. So, yeah, I think signs probably do point to Jalen Williams, that is. I mean, he's had some games where he's really solid, but yeah, he hasn't really been a huge difference maker as well. So, yeah, I think you're spot on that he'll probably be the odd man out. But you know what? I think the Seabears are very fortunate that they're hosting championship weekend this year, because the West is so damn good. Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton's on a heater. They are so far and away the top three teams in the West that it's not even funny. The Seabears are nowhere even close to the Western Division podium. They got a lot of work to do. But again, who knows? Maybe it's the fact that they know they're going to be there at the end. They've still been tinkering with their lineup, that they don't have the same juice that those other teams have at this point of the year. But just Neil, overall, your thoughts of what you'd like to see from the Seabears, heading down to this kind of final third of the season before they host the Final Four.
It's finding those 8 guys, right? It's finding that rotation, because I do think the talent will figure itself out. All my friends and fans that have talked to me about this team and like, can they win and all that kind of stuff, the one thing I tell them is we have to win 2 games in our home gym.
That's it.
And then they're CBL champions. A team that has Simi and Jalen Harris and everything else can win 2 games in a row at home in front of 10,000 plus fans. 100%.
Yeah.
I do think having those 8-ish players understanding, like, okay, if I'm Maurice Kalu and I'm just going to split minutes with ACOT, and it's like I'm going to have my 20 minutes here, maybe I'm the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second, and then whatever it may be, right? Like, anyone who knows basketball kind of knows these classic rotations, right? Like Jalen Harris will play the full first quarter, right? Or Terry Roberts will play the first 8 minutes, get that 4-minute rest, and then come back later in the second. To me, that's what I would really love to see from Coach Taylor, is figuring out those 8-9 guys that he's going to roll into a ridiculously challenging game against Vancouver or Calgary, more likely, right? But it doesn't mean they can't do it. I love that you and Joey talked about how important that Vancouver win was the other day, because I think they needed that. They needed to realize that, oh yeah, we can beat good teams. And it's Calgary tomorrow, right? Like on Thursday, we're talking here on Wednesday. That is going to be another huge measuring stick, because they are so good. Like they're one of my favorite teams to watch. And like Jameer Nelson Jr., when he was here last time, just absolutely lit us up. He's fantastic. And then Miller Moore has just probably been one of the best CBL players since the league started, right? So and then we could talk about Vancouver for days. I mean, they're incredible. But yeah, they got to win 2 games, man. They got to win 2 games in front of 10,000 fans, and they're CBL champions. So they can absolutely do it. Finding that rotation and then just getting reps, just getting game reps of like just moving the ball and doing what they need to do, and defensive reps. We talk about the offense all the time because these guys just haven't been able to put the ball in the bucket either. Doesn't mean their defense has been like stellar at all either, right? Like the Scarborough game was a perfect example of just how turnovers can lead to fast breaks, and just backdoors can be so demoralizing to a team, right? So they can absolutely do it, man. They can absolutely do it. And I like to live on the positive side of things and thinking that they can and actually will do it. And this whole season of kind of, I don't know, not feeling the same as the first season, not feeling quite the same as the second season. I hope that everything can be righted with a couple wins at the end of the season.
It almost might even benefit them that these other teams won't have really much tape of the Seabears that the Seabears are going to be in that Final Four, because the roster has changed so much. I mean, we're over at the halfway point of the year, and like again, like people still don't really know who these Seabears are. Like it's just been changing so much. But I mean that's kind of the thing. Like the West is a gauntlet this year, and like you said, they just got to win 1 game to be the West Division champions. That's it. Like what a luxury of all year. I mean, the West is good every year, but like what a massive year to have that by, right? But I mean, covering the team this year, though, selfishly, I've hated this. I've hated that the fact that they're guaranteed that Final Four spot, because it's like these guys could lose 4 or 5 games in a row, and it's like, but it doesn't really matter as long as they just win that last game of the year, last 2 games of the year. It's all good. So I don't know. I've said this to Joey countless times. I get why the CBL does it, and I get, it'd be tough to sell a Final Four weekend to a city if their team isn't even in it. But man, it's just like, I don't know. It just stinks. And again, it's just like covering the team all year, doing this podcast all year. It's like, that's just the thing, that's the cloud that's always hanging over every discussion. It's like, yeah, they've been bad, or yeah, they can't shoot. Yeah, the bench has been, brutal, blah, 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 whatever. But it's like, all just, as long as they win the last 2 games of the year, that's all going to be forgotten and forgiven and whatever. So, you're the glass half full guy. I guess I'm the glass half empty guy.
Hey, that's what I love listening to you on this podcast, man. I think that's a big part of it. It sucks to say it out loud, and they're all competitors, right? Anyone who's played sport at this level is absolutely out there to win and compete every single night. However, they are all human. They know that they have that spot in there, right? So has that crept into their minds a few times? Who knows? I don't want to put that on them, but it's absolutely human nature to be like, well, do we really have to fight for this as hard as we would have if not, right? Like, the season might have even felt over by now, right? If that wasn't the case, because of just how good the top of the West is. That play-in game that play-in game is going to be unbelievable, right? Whether it's Calgary and Vancouver and Edmonton, like, you could even say that might be the CBL championship. I know there's a couple good teams out in East, but like every team that strolled through Winnipeg, those like Calgary and Vancouver just absolutely pop off. And then Edmonton, who's kind of that third team in there, they just have our number. We never beat Edmonton. I think they've kicked us out of the playoffs twice in a row now. So tough opponents, to say the least, for our Sea Bears here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we close up shop here, Neil, I do want to ask you some questions about being the videographer for the Sea Bears.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite moment, or a favorite game, or a favorite shot, or a shot that you just missed because someone stood up in front of you at the worst possible timing and you missed the crazy highlight dunk? I'm sure you got 100 different stories, but is there one that really kind of sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, as soon as you said it, do you remember the Justin Wright Foreman Elam winner from basically half court? His foot was on the logo.
Yes. Yeah.
So I love target time. I love the Elam ending. I think it's such a fun way to end basketball games. I do think it should not end on a free throw. I don't know what the answer is either.
I agree with that. I agree.
I hate the Elam free throw ending. I mean, Tevian Jones, we were so excited to have him as a Sea Bear, and his first Elam winner was a free throw. And it's like, as a videographer, selfishly.
Even fans too, though. Even fans too. You're not going to get jacked over a free throw. So, yeah, 100%. I hear you.
It takes away from it, right? But Justin Wright Foreman will never end a game on a free throw. That's just not kind of his style. So it took a while throughout. Thank goodness we had tons of Elam winners that first season. But thinking about how to capture an Elam winner and thinking about where that player is going to celebrate, right? So I'll talk about the Justin Wright Foreman one, but to preface that, the very first game for the Sea Bears, Chad Posthumus had just probably the most iconic Elam winner in Sea Bears history, and will always be that way. I was on like the side of the court, and I just thought, knowing Chad, I mean, we grew up playing against him and with him, right? So as a local guy, I could not see him celebrating toward the fans under the basket. I almost just had this hunch he was going to move back towards center. And that's exactly what he did, right? He had this big kind of like chop motion with his hand. He went straight towards center and started clapping kind of thing. So that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking about as a videographer, is like, who are the players that are most likely going to take the shot? Because that's also a real thing, right? Teddy Allen, Justin Wright Foreman, Jalen Harris, you name it. How they are going to celebrate. Are they going to be the ones, like Eman's a great example. Every one of his Elam winners, he's been basically celebrating with the fans baseline, right? Justin Wright Foreman, when he took that shot at half, I was almost right beside him next to the scorer's table. And he decided to just look straight towards my camera and walk towards my camera. And the entire group absolutely just engulfed him against like the scorer's table. So they couldn't go further. And I'm there just like squeezing to the left to get that shot. And it's one of those things where it's like you can prepare, which I think is a big part of being anybody with a camera, right? However, you're going to miss so many things and you just get lucky sometimes. And that Justin Wright Foreman one was just one of those ones where I was like, okay, this guy's one of the guys that will take long shots and celebrate backwards. So I'm going to be at half instead of at the baseline. And the fact that he just walked over to me and the entire team engulfed him with my camera there was definitely something I'll remember for a long time, without a doubt.
That's unreal. And it's cool that the Chad make in the first game of Seabears history, how you and I actually had completely different viewpoints. You were, right there on the court, obviously. And with it being game one, there was so many media people covering it. And we had our main Sea Bears reporter at the time for the Free Press, Mike Sawatsky, covering the game. So media row was full. So the Sea Bears, they threw me up like in the press box, like where you would watch Jets games. So I'm like way up in the nosebleeds.
That's
and
way
I was like,
high, yeah.
I was kind of pissed, to be honest. But whatever, they still gave me a pass, and I was in, and it was fine. It was cool that they still accommodated me, even though I wasn't actually covering my game. But anyways, I was actually, now that I look back at it, I'm so glad that I was sitting from up there, because Chad had the big make. And then I got to see the entire arena like stand up and celebrate and really like go crazy about how like the hometown guy, ended the game one against a Vancouver team. I think people kind of assumed the Seabears were going to lose that one too. Yeah, and just like the coolest like ending possible for like the first game in franchise history. So it was really cool being sky high for that one. But moving forward, though, I like being on the court side moving forward. But that one time it was cool. It was
cool. That first year I was making a lot of video recaps for the Seabears, and that was the easiest video I think I ever made, because like what a storybook ending, right? Like the hometown hero getting that game-winning basket, and then coach said it himself in the locker room afterwards too, and I'm just like, oh, this is like, I like to think of myself as a storyteller. I know you do too. Sometimes the story just unfolds in the perfect way, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a Disney movie, right? It's just like, now I just got to figure out how to tell it the right way. But yeah, man, I think like Chad meant a lot to Winnipeg basketball, without a doubt. And I'm so glad that he's going to be remembered in such a positive light. But I often talk about this with people closest to me, like, and that knew and grew up with Chad. I think he's a huge thing that's missing from this team too. Just like the connection to the fans, the connection to the community, knowing that he can play 0 minutes or 30 and still be like an adult in the room, and being able to bridge the gap between the coaching staff and the front office and the community and the fans in general. Like, as much as he was a good basketball player and made our city proud, I think all those intangibles and those community events that he just absolutely was like the big attraction, quite literally. I think that's what Winnipeg misses for sure, right? Like, basketball aside, like that guy meant a lot to this Winnipeg community. So it was good to even just talk about that shot with you. So I appreciate you asking the question.
Yeah. I mean, he was the perfect captain, the perfect face of the team. Like you said, didn't matter if he scored 0 points, 20 points. Like he was the face of the Sea Bears, and he's obviously, missed in more ways than one. And, I'm glad we kind of got into Chad, because, Joey and I, beginning of this year, we said, anytime we have a guest on the show this year, we want to ask them, their favorite Chad memory or a moment or just something about Chad that sticks out. And, you already kind of answered, I guess, but is there anything else about Chad, or did you have a favorite interaction that you got to have with Chad?
Totally. The Seabears put on a camp for young Indigenous children before one of the games, and a lot of the time in these events, and I don't blame these international players or whatever, a lot of the time in these events, it is the local guys, right? So Sean Moranin was there, who played for the Winnipeg Westmen. Darren Watts was there, who plays for the Bisons, right? And then, of course, it's Chad. And the players were there. Again, they had a game that night, because I'm almost positive all the children from the camp also went to the game that night. So they were only there briefly for like a half hour, 45 minutes or something like that. And this is like in amongst like a 3-hour, 4-hour morning of a camp. And the way the children gravitated towards Chad, it's hard to even like explain without any hyperbole, like just a moth to a flame, because he's so big, so gentle, so funny, and just like he just understood what that whole thing was about, right? Like it's about telling these children that like just because like I'm tall, it doesn't mean you can't like reach your dreams. And that sounds so cliche and it sounds like so rose-colored glasses stuff. But when you actually listen and hear those conversations, and I was trying to do a recap video for this too, so I ended up asking those young athletes like what impacted them and stuff. And some of them would go as far as say just like having someone like Chad talk to me and thinking like I'm just another, like I can just like talk to this professional athlete and be there. That really shined through. And there's this, like, you might have seen the clip because I feel like I've used it in so many different like Chad stuff, especially like his, the video that we made for his celebration of life. There's a clip of all the, all the children playing bum. And of course, Chad's in the line, but Chad would just block every shot that came near him. He would dunk every ball that like he would just throw it off the glass. And as much as like the kids were calling like him a cheater and all that kind of stuff, like they were having a blast. They were laughing. They were yelling at him, and he just would not give them any easy baskets. And I think that kind of like, for me, that's the everlasting memory of Chad. That basket for sure will be immortalized, but that camp, like that was my last really good like experience with Chad. And again, like we grew up together playing together, right? So like we've always been friends, and it's just in a professional setting, seeing him understand the context of a professional athlete showing up to a children's camp and just being himself and nailing it. That's something I'll always remember for sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Actually, I was just shooting hoops on my driveway yesterday, and my neighbor, shout out to Isaiah, I think he's like 12 years old, came over, shot some hoops with me, and he's wearing a Chad Posthumous camp shirt.
Sweet,
so there you go.
Like that's
just cool, man. Like the next generation of kids are, getting a chance to still know Chad's story, and the ones that were fortunate enough to do camps with them, like the one you mentioned. Yeah, those are memories that they're gonna remember forever. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, man. Yeah. So I think, do you have any final thoughts, Neil? Anything else we didn't touch on? I mean, it's been a crazy few weeks to see Bears hoops. I think we got to everything, but do you have any final thoughts or anything else heading into Thursday night when the Sea Bears host the Calgary Surge at home?
First of all, I want to thank you for having me on, right? I have been a diehard listener to the podcast since the get-go. I'll constantly bug both of you that I kind of like hearing Taylor's thoughts a little bit more than Joey's sometimes. Joey, you're too nice, man. Just let it fly. Let it fly. But I think you guys are phenomenal storytellers. We've talked about this a little bit even in this episode. Like the nature of the CBL is these guys come and go, right? And so a lot of the times they don't come back, right? Or they're not staying for a long time. But even your last episode with Simi, like I had no idea his connection with Emat. That is so cool, right? So like being able to ask the athletes these kind of questions and hearing about what they're interested in and hearing about their path to the CBL and what they hope to do afterwards. I find that stuff so fascinating. And I think like with how your show's been going, I think other people are interested in that stuff too, right? And I think as long as the CBL keeps going, I really do hope that's where the storytelling continues to go, is like, we don't have to pretend that these guys like Teddy Allen's going to be a Sea Bear for 10 years, right? Like, but let's celebrate the fact that they are here, and the ones that do put in that 100% effort and kind of embrace the community, embrace like the challenge of coming into like a 20-24 game season and all that kind of stuff, right? That can still be really cool. And we don't have to get upset at guys like Terry and Jalen for trying to reach their dreams down south, right? So like I said before, I'm a positive guy. So I do like to look on the bright side of the CBL doesn't need to be anything more than it is, right? And it's a summer league. These guys come from pro contracts making bigger money than the CBL, and they're just enjoying some nice Canadian hot weather. I guess it's pretty smoky right now, but like they're here for a short time, and hopefully it's a good time. And I think you guys have done a really good job embracing that as a show and telling the stories of those guys that are here, right? So that's the last thing I want to say, is compliment you guys on the show that you guys have done, because I think every team needs a target score weekly for sure, because I think more of these stories will just be better for the league and more interesting for the fans, right?
Well, that's very nice of you to say, but I mean, I can't really take credit for anything because Joey is the one. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the point guard of the show. I'm just the 12th man who waves the towel end of the bench, and he makes me look good. But that's
you hosted pretty well today, man. You hosted pretty well today. Hey, drop it in the comments if Taylor needs to host more.
No, definitely not. No.
I love you, Joey. I'm kidding.
Yes, yeah, Joey, we love you, miss you big time, and looking forward to having him back on the show very soon. But yeah, that does it for another edition of Target Score Winnipeg. Huge shout out to Neil for hopping on, bailing us out, doing an incredible job. And you got to look up this guy's work. This city, this sports community is so lucky to have a videographer of his talent. And I'm not just saying that because he just gave me my flowers. I mean, seriously, the content that this man produces just blows me away. He's one of the best in the biz, and we're very lucky to have him here in Winnipeg. So huge thanks to Neil for helping us out. We'll have you back on the show sometime soon. Joey, like I said, we love you. We miss you. We're looking forward to chatting hoops with you again next week. And until then, Sea Bears fans, big game Thursday night at home against the Calgary Surge. We'll see if Will Richardson and Trey Scott have another big night in them or not. I don't know. We'll find out. But thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. And thanks for stopping by.